Welcome, friends, to another episode of a program that currently does not yet have a name. I'm gonna have to think of one. When I used to run my business in Wisconsin, it used to be called Wiley Motorsports, even though we didn't actually do any motorsports. At any rate, we'll think of something for this. But today's topic is the feminism that is present in, well, all of media at the moment, particularly woke feminism. But that is especially present in the new SheHulk show, which I refuse to actually watch the show itself because that would require me to give Disney my money, which I will not do, precisely because of this political crap. At any rate, I'll let it speak for itself.
Make sure of your ability to tolerate distress and regulate your emotions, especially your anger.
I'm great at controlling my anger. I do it all the time. When I'm catcalled in the street, when...
This actress has never been catcalled in her entire life. Guaranteed. At this point, with technology and everyone having a phone with a camera in it, video, or it didn't happen.
incompetent men explain my own area of expertise to me, I do it pretty much every...
Well, if you're making mistakes because you're a new lawyer who doesn't have a ton of life experience, then yeah, you're going to get reprimanded and explained and all kinds of things by men and women because you're young, you're inexperienced, you don't know everything yet, and you're going to make a lot of mistakes. But if it's a man who reprimands you, oh, it's the patriarchy, it's the misogyny. Yeah, no. It's called you're young and inexperienced. So you're going to make mistakes, male or female, doesn't matter. If you can't learn to handle that, you need to grow up, or you need to find some way to go get more experience. Maybe not working at that firm. I don't know.
Day, because if I don't, I will get called emotional or difficult, or might just literally get murdered.
I got low. I didn't see an end, so I put a bullet in my mouth, and the other guy spit it out.
What he is remembering as the Hulk here is a couple of lines from, I don't know which movie, I think it might have been Age of Ultron, where he explains that the Hulk can't commit suicide or be murdered or be harmed really in any way except by maybe even Thanos could really only beat his ass, couldn't really do anything else. You'd have to be cosmic level god power within the fictional universe of, the MCU to even have a chance at taking the Hulk out. So basically, he can't be harmed, not even by himself, if he wanted to try to self-delete. You got to be careful what words you use for YouTube because censorship algorithms, but you get my point. He can't die, except of anything other than natural causes. And that, obviously, since she now has his powers, neither can she. So she can't be murdered, so that entire logical statement she's about to make at the end of this, no sense whatsoever. And no basis in reality.
Clint, where's Nat?
Up until Endgame, that was how you write a female character. Well done. Everything after Endgame has been garbage. Or as most people refer to it now, the MCU.
When I had the gauntlet, the stones, I really tried to bring her back. I miss him, man. Me too.
Or might just literally get murdered. So I'm an expert at controlling my anger because I do it infinitely more than you.
This thing, I just got these brand new powers that I've had for all of the equivalent of 5 minutes. I know how to control better than you, 'cause I'm a woman. Nah. Took him years to figure that out. And that was on top of any existing anger issues he might have already had prior to the gamma radiation accident that was present in the first Hulk movie. And obviously in the comics before that. Took him years to figure out how to finally manage it. Oh, but she's figured it out in 5 seconds because magic, because woman. This is where the arguments of feminism fall apart. Also, the whole thing with feminism is that supposedly it's a battle against the patriarchy. It's a battle against men. I hate to break it to you, but the biggest enemy of women, it's usually other women. Oh, I'll grant you, back in, I don't know, Stone Age, Middle Ages, long time ago, there was a decent chance that a man could come along, take advantage of a woman, and even though there were laws in place that allowed the family of that woman to hunt that man down and kill him for what he had done, there was a decent chance with a corrupt government system that he might get away with it. Okay. That doesn't happen today, especially with forensics. That does not happen today. What happens today is, I don't even know, I think it's 60 to 90% of the claims of the R word that YouTube doesn't like, so I will avoid using it, usually turn out to be bogus when investigated by police. At any rate, that being the case, with the modern world, the biggest enemy of women is not really men. It's other women. All of these feelings of inadequacy, vulnerability, insecurity, I see all of this stuff all the time. All over Facebook, especially, and social media, where women just constantly complain about they're not valued enough, that they're, victims of the patriarchy, that all this other stuff. The reality is that's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. The biggest enemy of women is women. There's been multiple scientific studies that have documented this repeatedly. Numerous articles written by female liberals talking about how, and they're feminists, by the way, talking about how the whole avenue or the whole thing about women being horrible to other women is never talked about. There's an article here. Why are some women nasty to other women? Written by a liberal woman. I checked into her background. Same thing here. Why are women so mean to each other? Written by a woman who's a doctorate. Now another one. This is written by a man, but he's also liberal. Same concept. Why do women bully each other at work? And the best one I found on the topic was from 2018. Why are women meaner to each other than men are to women? Because they are. Oh, not all women. There's a lot of great women. I'm married to one of them. It's fantastic. Generally speaking, doesn't gossip about most people. Just not something she does. Most women do. Sorry. The truth has got to be told. The way that women compete, and all women do compete, this whole concept of, oh, this is sisterhood, that's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. Men compete for status among other men and also for attention of women, generally, not always, generally through competing with each other. Well, usually it used to be on the battlefield, and now that, since World War II, you've had some conflicts around the globe, some, proxy wars and some other things, but generally the kind of thing where, at least in America, where you would be involved in an actual war, very rare, if ever. So all of that natural competition between males has evolved from going from the battlefield into the business world, which is why you get some of the behavior you get, unfortunately some of the corrupt behavior you get, but it's competition between men in the business world. while there are women now, including my wife, who go into the workforce, because that's just the nature of our world now, generally speaking, prior to women working in the workplace, women usually competed amongst other women and had their value within their community or within their social circle or within their peer group, generally based on their physical appearance or personality or combination of those two things. Well, now you have women in the workplace that have been there for 40, 50 years. You have women in the workplace who, I mean, there's a lot of employers where there aren't any women, aren't any men. It's just women. And they still treat each other horribly. Why? Because women compete like men compete. You just compete in different ways. When guys are competing, we're generally pretty upfront about it. If we have a problem with you, you'll generally know we have a problem with you. It's not exactly a secret. Women don't operate this way. They tend to do... There's an old saying that when men stab each other, they stab each other in the front. When women stab each other, they stab each other in the back. And I've found through a large portion of my life that generally tends to be true. Not all women, but most women, when they have a problem with another woman, they don't start an argument or confront that woman directly. They usually tend to do things like starting rumors or very nicely, very politely at like in a social gathering or in a lunch with their friends or whatever, it's like those little backhanded comments that sound, especially to men, like a compliment, but women know that they're not a compliment. It's like the nicest possible way you could tear somebody down. It's kind of how a lot of women operate. There's nothing, I'm not making a judgment call on which one is better or worse. Obviously, as a man, I'm biased. I think it's better to just be face-to-face with people, but I'm not a woman, so I don't operate that way. But the reality is that's how women operate. Women are very, very nice to each other, generally, to each other's faces. And when they have a competition or a problem or a hierarchy issue or a status issue with some other woman, the way they go about dealing with that is nearly always behind the back. Or in what you might call indirectly. It's just how they operate. So, this whole narrative of, the women are a sisterhood. Nah. It's complete bullshit. Most women are very nice, they don't really have a lot of problems, but especially the younger women, teens, 20s, into the 30s, when they have a problem, they usually tend to try to tear other women down. And it's a sign of immaturity on both sides because, again, when men do it, they do it directly. Women generally do it indirectly. But usually people tend to grow out of this kind of behavior towards their mid to late 30s into their 40s, where it finally dawns on most people, men and women, that the opinions of other people really just don't matter. Like, there's a short list of people who you should care about their opinion, and if they're telling you you're going off the rails, you should take that advice to heart and give, the choices you're making some serious consideration. But outside of that small list of people who actually matter, you finally get to a point in your life, male or female, where it finally dawns on you that everybody who is not on that list is meaningless. Almost like they don't even exist. Oh, you're nice to them. But as far as their opinion of you, means nothing. Which is kind of where I'm at. But I had a head start on that because I was bullied a lot as a child, so I came to that conclusion fairly earlier than most people do, into my early 20s, before, it finally dawned on me that the hell with this, because every which way I tried to fit in just didn't work. I mean, look at all the nerd stuff behind me. So my point is some people come to this conclusion way earlier in life. Some people come to this conclusion a lot later in life. Some people, unfortunately, never come to that conclusion at all, and it's just very sad because they're just miserable people. But the reality is the whole narrative of feminism that all women think the same, all women are victims, all women, it's just this victim Olympics. You're not. Because the reality is this. Wise words from Red Foreman. And that's the truth of it. You don't figure this out until later in your life, but once you get to, at my age, once you get to a little bit older in life and you look back on your life, you start to realize that most of the problems that you had to deal with throughout the course of your life, nearly all of those problems were in some way caused by you. Maybe not all the way, maybe not most of the way, but there were things you could have done to make your life better that had you realized it at the time, you would have done things differently. Everybody has that. But these people can't see this because most of these people are generally younger and they buy into this propaganda crap and they think that feminism is about equality because, like you can kind of see right there in the thing that I have, which I have for a reason in the background, oh, it's a struggle for women's equality. Women have had equality under the law for a century. Good God. Oh, well, really, for a large portion of the history of mankind. But women have had equality in the law. Have had the vote for a century. The sexual liberation, if you agree with that whole thing, they've had that for 50 years. They've been in the workplace since the end of World War II. And now they complain about a gender gap. Well, there really isn't one, because that's the way that women work and the things that women do are not the same as a man. And the reason why, in large part, most women are paid less is, one, because of the career fields that they choose to enter into, which generally don't pay as high. Not always, but generally don't pay as high. And the reason they don't pay as high is because they do not require the sacrifice of being as far from home for as long a period of time. For example, you generally, and there are exceptions, generally don't see women working on oil platforms or on deep-sea fishing vessels or on cargo ships traveling between countries. Why? Because women are generally programmed, most of them, to have a love of having kids, wanting to have kids, and those types of jobs make doing that extraordinarily difficult. You can't really raise a child on board a deep-sea cargo vessel, constantly traveling every few days between, let's say, China and America. It's just not really doable. Oh, a man can do that easily. It ain't nothing for us. I mean, it's difficult. You need away from your family, but, it's not the same. So things of that nature, which require, and I'm not talking about the corporate world, that's a whole different thing, but the kinds of jobs, underwater welder, mechanic, even though mechanics don't make nothing for a living, but all those kinds of jobs are generally why women are usually paid less. And then the other reason is because when they have children, they generally tend to take longer away from that job to have those children. And in addition, because of pregnancy costs, and I can tell you, having had a child where 2007, we only had to pay $3,000, but the hospital actually saw the hospital bill that the insurance company had to pay was nearly as close as makes no difference, $100,000. The insurance company had to pay for that. Company had to pay the insurance company. Obviously, you as a woman, your rates are going to be higher, or you're going to get, or your rates are going to be the same, but you're going to get paid less because somebody has to pay for that. Nothing is free. Is it fair? I don't know. That's a whole other moral discussion. But my point is, there are innate differences between men and women, and those differences are natural and are normal and should be celebrated, because the truth of it is, men and women need each other in equal amounts. Yin and yang, baby. Yin and yang. So, without one, the other is missing things. Without the other, they're missing things. I can tell you countless examples in my house of my attention span is very short. And I forget a lot of things. And generally, my wife has very nice talent of being able to catch things I miss. Most of the time, I will bring her in just to make sure, even if I'm pretty confident I got everything, I'll be like, hey, you want to just double check this? Because I feel like I'm missing something here. And, whether I'd have or haven't. But women have skills that men don't. Men have skills that women don't. They're intended by the OEM, which is a mechanics way of saying whatever deity you choose to believe in. It stands for original equipment manufacturer. They're intended to work as a matched set. One can function without the other, but not to its fullest ability. And I don't care for all the leftist arguments of just garbage and bullshit, trying to spread Marxism basically throughout the Western culture and the Western world, because that's what all of this shit is Marxism. But that's the reality. Now, you can either accept that reality, or you can live in denial and constantly try to make everyone else come to agree with your point of view, and good luck with that. Most studies seem to indicate roughly a quarter to a third of the population at any time is liberal or liberal-leaning, really liberal, or leftist, or whatever you want to call it nowadays. Most people are either moderate or what you might call conservative-ish, namely meaning that even if they vote Democrat or liberal, they're the kind of people who want to have a family, raise that family in a safe environment, and not have to deal with a bunch of constant internal strife in the culture corrupting their kids. Which is what all of this shit is. So, basically, what all of this amounts to is this.
Man, this is some bullshit!
And that's exactly what it is. At any rate, that's all I have for now. I will catch you on the next one.